Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. This program is all about providing leaders and managers with meaningful insights on how to optimize business results by aligning their people strategy to their business strategy. Our goal is to support you as you rise to the challenges of complex decision making centered around attracting and retaining top talent.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Strategic Alignment Podcast. I am your co-host here with Jamie Pottinger. I am Shauna K. Pottinger, and it is a privilege for me to be joining you here this evening. We're looking forward to a great conversation with Mr. Pottinger again. Part 2, it was such a privilege to be on last week. I noticed that not much of you are on currently, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask or give a few more minutes for us to
for others to join,
us, and we can just chit chat. Mr. Pottinger, how was your holiday season?
Holiday was good, always good. Getting a chance to spend time with family and the kids and play around and just laugh and enjoy some good food and get a little chance to just catch up with friends and phone calls and greetings and stuff. That was good. I'm enjoying it. I'm not looking forward to it ending. But I guess what we're going to be talking about today, feedback, is that if you take the right feedback, you may just have longer Christmas breaks when it comes down to your business and your leadership and what you're doing. So I'm happy. I'm looking forward to 2023. I'm grateful for all that God has blessed me with thus far for this year that is closing out. And I'm just excited about all the plans and the things that we're looking to do for the new year and how we can add value to people's lives and their leadership, their organizations and their teams. Because, life is too short for you not to have fun doing it. And not because you're leading or you're part of a team means that your life should be one of misery.
I agree.
But as we started out last week talking about feedback and the power of feedback or unleashing the power of feedback, I think is something that is critical to our growth, to our expansion, not only to ourselves, but to our teams, and allows us to be in a position whereby we create more space for others to grow. And we find ourselves growing at a much more alarming rate when it comes down to us and how we deal with feedback and how we give feedback. So it's not just about what you get, but it's also about what you give and how that serves to add value to you and those who you work with.
I feel like you can't wait to jump into the content today,
Yeah,
because I really just asked you, how was your holiday season?
But you asked me that
yes, you found a way to tie feedback into that. I like that.
But the thing about, if you ask about my holiday, and that's how powerful it is, because if you don't embrace feedback, then you don't see the need to give feedback. Because for every question triggers or prompts you to give feedback.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what quality of feedback are you giving? After I've just shared that with you, what did you decipher from my break? So as you think about feedback, we have to practice it. So I'm not only waiting until I'm in a meeting or I'm doing a training. I'm going to, okay, this is how you do it. This is how we do it when it comes on the feedback.
I hear you.
We're always doing it, and it should be a part of who you are.
I'm not mad at you for saying that. Feedback is very important. Now, I think last week, just to give a recap of what we've touched on so far, last week we had a conversation about, we generally touched on what feedback looks like, but I think part of what we shared centered around what feedback looks like on the personal level. If I'm an individual contributor who is showing up, or sometimes it does, I think we delve a little bit into the management and leadership, but we never touched too much on that. So today we're going to just pick up on that. Last week we talked about the front of your t-shirt, the back of your t-shirt, what that means and how that resonates with your leaders. So today we're going to be talking about leadership and management development and what feedback looks like within that context. For those who were not on here last week and they're here this week, can you just break down Sesame Street style, as you will say, for me, what is feedback? What is that?
Feedback is sharing exactly the strengths or the weaknesses, or sharing exactly where the gaps are and where the failures are, and also sharing what is going well. It's feedback is really about sharing, but I think it's not that people are not afraid to share, But the question is that how do we deal with when people share? So last week we talked about the fact that people most times are willing to share, but do you create an environment that is conducive for them to share?
Right.
Or is it that based on the environment that you create as a leader, they only share things that will secure your applause or your attaboy or your attagirl?
Right.
So it's not that people don't have information to share. It's not that people are not willing to give feedback, but the question is the person who's receiving the feedback, have you created an environment that makes it easy for persons to share? And what is it that you do with information, and how are those persons treated? And what happens as a result when you fail to create that environment for people to feel comfortable in giving you the feedback? And as we said last time, that feedback is not always cookies and cream. Feedback sometimes are stuff that can be really painful, where sometimes it leaves you thinking that the person is really out to get you. And we also address the fact that not everybody who gives feedback mean well, but we also share that whether they mean well or not, if you see something in what they're sharing that you can adjust in the way you do things, it's important for you to do that.
To say something, or not take it personally. But I think you mentioned something about there being in every nonsense there's an ounce of sense.
In every pound of nonsense there's an ounce of sense.
That's true. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess if we're going to take it from the perspective of leadership and feedback in leadership, can you tell us what that looks like? If I'm a young manager, I just took over a department, or I am a leader, I'm in a C-suite, I just got promoted to a C-suite position, and I want to leverage the power that's inherent in feedback. What will that look like from a leadership and a management perspective? How do I get that? Give me some examples
and Sean,
of what that looks
before
like.
we give you an example, you introduced me to a book that Leadership is Language. So the first thing is that you have to use appropriate language so that you can secure the right feedback.
So let's talk about language for a little bit. I like that.
So for example, you may be a part of a team, and your boss may say to you that I welcome your feedback. But you already know that based on your boss's mannerism and overall disposition, he's not really welcoming feedback. What he's welcoming is you affirming the decisions that he has made and to applaud the projects and the plans that he has. So your language first has to be one that accommodates people sharing what they have observed from their perspective, and not necessarily them sharing what they think you need to hear in order for you to feel celebrated about something that you've done. So the language is the first thing that you have to take note of, leaders. And I'll say this too, that teammates need to hold their leaders accountable when leaders are asking for feedback, but they have not set the right stage for them to share. So whenever are you ready for me to jump into the question now, or you want us to go further?
No, I want you to get into it, because sometimes from a practical standpoint, I hear what you're saying about language, I hear what you're saying about demeanor, and I think we touched on that last week a little bit. But in terms of a practical sense,
how do we do that?
What does it look like?
Okay.
How do we secure the feedback that we need to know whether we're doing well or we're not doing so well?
So for example, you're a young manager, as you made mention, you're now in the C-suite. You have a bunch of middle-level managers that are working beneath you, and
so the leader is the leader is in the C-suite, the manager is managing a team.
Teams, and he had different persons, whoever they are, that are reporting to him. And you're initiating a new project. You've just been given a new project by the CEO, and you're the one charting the path of the new project. You just had your first meeting. Your responsibility as a leader is to ensure that after every meeting or before every meeting, you secure exactly what your teammates are thinking. So you ask, Jamie, this is the agenda. And that's the reason why I recommend to leaders most times to share the agenda with the people who they'll be meeting with. And then I also ask if there's anything that you like to add to the agenda.
So let's pause and just see if we can just stick a pin there. The first thing you touched on earlier was leadership, and being a language, and that your language translates based on how one interprets your behavior, how you react and respond. So that's the first thing. But I'm hearing you to say that one way of securing feedback is by sharing ahead of time to the team that you're meeting with, or whatever conversations you're going to have with the team, that you would send the agenda ahead and solicit feedback from the team. Is that what I'm hearing?
So because what happens, Shauna, is that when you do those things, you're also letting your team know how vulnerable you are and open you are to their feedback. Because if I share with you my agenda before the meeting, it means that I'm saying that I'm not going into this meeting as the only person of power and authority. If I'm sharing my agenda with you, I'm giving you an insight into what I'm thinking. I'm also allowing you to do your research so that when you enter the meeting, you come to the meeting not wondering what's happening, but you come to that meeting prepared, ready to serve, ready to share, and ready to give. And you may even have more information than I do because of your expertise where that is concerned. So by the act of doing that is me saying to my teammate that guess what? This is about us winning together. Now, me soliciting your feedback, you now feel more empowered to share because you're saying my manager, my boss was willing to give me the agenda and also asked me, is there anything that you like to add to this, Jamie? And even further yet, Shauna, if I know exactly where your skill sets are and I know exactly where your strengths are, I may even share with you. Shauna, if you notice on the agenda, the third item talks about whatever strategy. And Shauna, I know that you're an expert in that area. Is there anything that you'd like to share with me before we head to the meeting so that we can be on the same page?
I love that.
So when I do that, what's happening here is that I'm using the right language, but I'm also putting actionable steps that communicate to you that I really want to hear from you where you are. And to take that a step further, when I do that, when this meeting would have been finished, I'd ask the team again, is there anything that we could have done differently? What are some of the wins or the glows or the grows that you got from this meeting? And how can we improve? So you're always seeking their input. And what you're sharing to your team is that I know that I'm not the best. I know that by myself, I can go fast, but with you, we could go much further. So I'm soliciting not only your support, I'm not only soliciting your praise, I'm soliciting you dissecting what we're doing, and I want your expertise. And when you do that, you have people who are now more prone or more open to give you honest feedback in terms of what they're experiencing and what they're taking to the table.
Yeah, that's a great point that you just made. There's a strategy that we have used with our leaders, especially in a team setting, and I think this can go over into some of the discussions that we'll have about team later. But one of the things that we talked about is when a leader inserts themselves into that what you call that feedback loop, where there's that constant exchange of information. There's a wealth of knowledge to be gleaned from that. And I love the way that you sort of zero in on some of what may appear to be informal methods, but they're practical in the sense that as a leader, you can find ways to get information and feedback prior to the meeting. So you're setting yourself up for success in that meeting so that you'll be able to achieve that goal. So I think that's excellent. Whenever I get on a call with a customer service agent, sometimes we have that recording that comes on at the beginning of the call that tells you to after the call to just stay back probably for a brief 5-minute, 3-minute conversation about how your call went. What do you think about creating a systematic approach to feedback when it comes on to a leader, a manager, or even in a team setting? Tell us a little bit more about that and what that looks like, and how, even in your capacity as a leadership consultant or a coach, how do you help leaders to implement this kind of thing?
I think, and Shauna, I like how you put that. And I think, you and I had this conversation before we got on set, is that it's important for us to measure, analyze, and prescribe. So because if you're not measuring it, it makes it difficult for you to manage it. So when it comes on to measuring and securing the information, you have to put systems in place. The reason why systems are so important as leaders, and when I talk about leadership, I always have to say this: leadership is all about leading up, leading down, leading across, and most importantly, leading yourself. Is that if you don't have adequate information, or if you don't create systems for people to share information, the fact that people are coming from different cultures and different backgrounds and different experiences, people are not always comfortable to submit or to share things that you or they may think that you may be offended when they share those things.
Stop for a second, because I think you made a very good point right there. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. You're saying that the cultural differences, the cultural background, and even the personality factor, because we deal a lot in this kind of stuff where we talk about how certain natural behavioral styles that we have may or may not lead us to be in a situation where we are that open and vulnerable with someone and in providing feedback. And so just talk a little bit more about that and what some of the traps that are associated with that kind of thing, and how leaders can avoid those traps.
I don't know if we're going to be able to cover all this, because you push me right into Pat Lencioni right now. Because
come on, let's talk about Pat. I like Pat.
So when you think about feedback, you cannot talk about feedback without vulnerability and vulnerability based trust. And we're not talking about the kumbaya hold hand trust, but the willingness to share where you are, the experience that you're having, and how that experience is impacting whether your level of productivity, performance, or just a team. Now, when it comes on the cultural background and differences, based on where you're coming from, it may put you in a position whereby you find it difficult to engage in certain ways. And that's the reason why having systems are important, because when you have systems, it provides some amount of safety for persons to share, and understanding that safety with them sharing will not be used in terms of jeopardizing their position in your organization, or even put them in a position whereby because you're sharing mean that what you're sharing is valued. Not because it's not valued doesn't mean that it's not valuable.
Right.
So if you don't have,
you just said something right there, we're just gonna keep going, but you said something just now.
So the thing about that, if
those of you who are watching, you can just record. Just hit the replay button on that one. He just said something. Go ahead.
So the thing about it is that if you don't have those systems in place, people will have great ideas. They will have great feedback, but because of their fear of them being sidelined, or their value in the sight of others to be diminished based on how it may be treated, they will fail to do that. But when you have consistent systems and means of evaluating for them sharing in a consistent basis, then they now feel safe in doing that. But the problem, Shauna, is not that they're sharing. The problem is not the next step, is because it's not a one-step process. Because sometimes you and I have done this. We're working with a team and people have shared, but nothing was done with it. The question is, what do you now do with the information that is being shared?
Well, can we just pause for a minute? Because I think that even the step of having the process where, yes, I do agree that the prescription, or you said prescribe corrective or improvement measures, that's a very important aspect of the feedback loop and the feedback process. But I want to take what you just said a step further. If I'm doing business with you, I feel a lot of safety. I feel valued by the fact that you are asking me to stay on the call a little bit longer so we can know if you got the right service today. Just by you having that facility, having that system in place, it gives me a sense of some kind of assurance, Jamie, that you value my feedback, one, but two, you're committed to doing better. Even if you trip up sometimes in terms of how you manage that. I remember once I made an order, a very large order from a vendor, and several steps to have them replace my order because there were a bunch of expired items, and just couldn't get through. My distributor was just ghosting me in and out. And listen, I tried everything, including I even had an attorney write the distributor because I wanted to scare him to say, hey, I'm willing to take legal action. And he did not take the bait. Guess what? I went on Google and I gave him a Google review. And within days of that review, a 1-star review, within days of that review, it's not days, I should really say it probably was that same afternoon, I got a call from somebody above him who was ready to replace my $12,000 order. What does that say? That tells you that when it comes on to feedback and being able to say how I feel about your service, whether you are a lead or a manager, that gives me as a end user of your service, because as a leader you're providing a service, an assurance, a sense of assurance that you are committed to the task of ensuring that there's some quality in the way that I bring that service across. So I think that system itself also plays that role as well.
I think the real value in feedback is the act of acknowledgement. So I could acknowledge your feedback by saying, yes, we received it.
Yes.
But true acknowledgement is that, am I following through with that feedback?
Yes,
and
that's
then,
true.
And then what great leaders do, not only do they follow through the feedback, but they acknowledge the impact that your feedback had on them, acknowledging it and putting things in place to move things forward. So if you give me a feedback about a meeting or about a project that we're working on as a lower level manager or just a member of a team, and I accepted that feedback and I acted on that feedback, and that feedback brought good results, then it's my responsibility to encourage feedback among the entire team by sharing that as a result of Shauna sharing this is what we have done, and has brought us a lot of good results. What that does, it now creates an environment where people now feel like, wow, not that you're trying to create an incentive-based organization, but they feel as if there's sense in them sharing, there's sense in them giving their feedback, and that actually is not just stored away in the back. There's something was
that's
done.
true.
So acknowledging it, moving forward with it, and after moving forward, making pronouncement or let it be known to others that this is what has happened as a result of the feedback that you've shared.
You know, that's a powerful point that you just made, because you're talking about affecting culture, impacting culture there, because when you would have highlighted certain behaviors that you welcome in terms of, listen, I was open to receiving feedback. You guys gave it. It was such valuable feedback. The entire team and organization benefited. What really happens there, especially when you go public with that kind of information, is you're encouraging others right there to do the same thing. And that in its own right will sort of shape the culture of the organization as far as, you know, the giving and receiving of feedback. I love it.
And as you say that, Shauna, the thing about it too is that what members of the team do is what the organization is.
Right.
So many times we talk about culture and feedback. If you don't create a culture whereby feedback is acknowledged, celebrated, and used, then your teammates will hold to the information that they have. And then there are times when they will go to other organizations or other teams and they'll be flourishing, the team will be doing well. But you did not create that environment whereby they feel comfortable for them to do it. So as a leader, you have to create that where people feel safe in sharing. Because I'm worried when I'm working with teams, I'm worried, I'm concerned when I'm at tables with teams and I recognize that people are not willing to share their opinions.
And you can tell, like you sense it in the room, because there are some people who are sharing, like you ask a question and they're the ones who dominate the conversation. You see that they have this tendency to give a glowing feedback on things, and others keep silent. So sometimes you can tell, you know, what's going on there.
And it doesn't take any rocket scientist to recognize that. When you walk into a room and you recognize that the only opinion that is followed is the one of the person who's the most.
Just one person. I love those people.
Loud wisdom, whereby the loudest is considered to be the wisest. Not because they're the wisest, but because nobody else is willing to share. Because they don't want to be painted in the corner. So when you think about your organization, you have to ask yourself as a leader, and it may just be you leading your family or leading your team. The question that you ask yourself is that, am I just a loud leader? You know, am I really getting the true sense of what's happening? Is my team really sharing where they are, or they're just looking for opportunities to celebrate me heading into a place whereby in a matter of time, my organization or my leadership will not be one that is worth mentioning. Because feedback gives you that platform to build.
Right.
And as you think about growing in a number of teams and leaders, like I was talking to a leader recently this week, and as he's looking into growing his organization as the year is closing out, he has to be asking himself certain questions. And the question that he's asking himself, that information should be coming from his team. I said to leaders, you're in a tough spot when all the solutions that you're looking to secure is coming from you. Because if you are at the table playing the game of chess, just remember that you are not always seeing all the moves.
No.
And just remember that your team, your organization is like the game of chess. And if the people who are also engaged in the game and the people who are observing the game, if they have nothing to share about the next best move that you should take, or the bad move that you just made, then you're in trouble. Now you find yourself at this point in your office at the end of the year, and you're doing an entire vision board by yourself and doing everything to suit who? So it has everything to do with what you have seen and not necessarily what has been felt by those who have been intimately involved in the planning and the execution of what you've been doing as an organization or as a team.
Yeah, Jamie, we're coming up towards the end of this episode, and I think we've touched on a lot of great nuggets regarding feedback. Pottinger and Associates Consulting, we help leaders to develop systems when it comes on to feedback. We give feedback because we do that through the coaching process, whether it be through the readback process and so on. So we want to encourage those of you who are on here, if you are interested in learning more about our diagnostic tools and systems that can help your organization to leverage and unlock the power of feedback, please reach out to us in our DMs, or you can definitely connect with us through our website. It's been a joy.
So what, Shauna, before we close out though, I'd like for you to share a little bit about the 5 behaviors and what we do there also. And also
that's powerful.
And also share that, because we may have persons who are listening to whereby they're aspiring leaders and they like to know where they are at this point and how they like to move forward. And if you could share a little bit about that, and we could talk some more about some of the plans that are coming up, and you could see the picture of the book up on your screen, the face of the show. So if you could share a little bit more about that, baby, that'd be good.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to share. So guys, I am so excited. Last year, we partnered with Wiley as authorized partners with the 5 behaviors, where we use Pat Lencioni's 5 behaviors of a dysfunctional team. Well, we flipped that and said 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, and we bring that to life within your organizations. We do this from a personal development standpoint, where we can come in and do a workshop for 3 days or just 1 day for your personal development. And this would include members of all different teams coming together to go through the content. But then we also have a very powerful tool in the team development, and this is mainly targeted at executives who are looking to leverage the power of that. What's powerful about that tool, I think, Jamie, is that it uses the DISC to as the basis on which it measures each of the participants on whether they are more averse to trusting and where they fall along that spectrum. And we believe that this will bring an incredible, and it has brought an incredible amount of value to our clients, and it's been changing lives. We are not only providing these sessions to our clients, but we are also providing the opportunities for HR practitioners and other individuals who are in training and development who are interested in completing the accreditation or becoming a facilitator of these products. You can connect with us and work through our program, so you'll become a certified trainer in this program. So if you are interested, we are trying to get certified by the end of January, Jamie, 15 human resource practitioners. Please reach out to us. We have a very special offer for you in our DMs that you can benefit from.
So
another very exciting thing is that we're also training sales team as well, and sales teams and any team at all when it comes on to getting to know yourself better, getting to know others better, and how to adapt your style, your natural behavioral styles to address the needs of other individuals. Anything else you'd like to add? Did I miss anything?
No, you said it. So you did a great job at that, Shauna. And I'll say this, no matter how gifted you are as a leader, and no matter how well your team is currently performing, you can still go further. And just remember that with every changes with every change that happens, whether in society, in the economy, with new people added to your team, with change in terms of management and leadership, that always presents itself with gaps and challenges. What we do is that we work with leaders, we work with your teams, as Shauna
Yes.
said, we work with you, and we have customized programs that will assist you in getting where you want to be as a leader.
It's like a
when it comes to
roadmap,
team. Yes,
right?
so
we
help-
tell you where you are, but then we tell you how to get to where you
Yeah,
want to
definitely.
be. And
Yeah.
I think that's the absolute best way to
Mhm.
transform an organization and a team.
and then too, as you think about it, we have the Face of Leadership coaching and our mastermind, and we have the coaching series that if you have members of your team that are in need of coaching, leadership developmental coaching and stuff, we offer that. And please don't allow the deal to run out on you. The Face of Leadership, we have a what?
Yes, we have a 20% off deal on the
discount.
Face of Leadership. So you guys can run to Amazon and buy the book. Whereas it was $20, now it's $16 for a limited period. So you may want to go ahead, if you have not gotten your copy,
Mhm.
you want to go ahead and get your copy at the Face of Leadership on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And please join us on Sundays for the Sunday prep. We say quitters bounce, but winners bounce back
And follow through.
And every Thursday here we have the Strategic Alignment podcast. And please connect with us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. And we're just happy to add value to your leadership and to the lives of those who you lead, because we believe that team is the way to move forward. One author said that, great players win games, but great teams win championships.
Yep.
So let's make that happen. We want you to win championships for the new year. So reach out to us as we add value and as we grow for 2023. Thank you guys very much for
I
joining
kind of
us.
like hosting with you, but I don't know if we're going to be doing this for now. I think the next set of series that you'll be doing is going to be.
We're gonna do a few more together.
Because you get to tell me whether I can make it on your show.
You've made it.
Thank you for the privilege too.
When you have the executive producer saying that, you know that maybe you're on the brink of being fired or something. But I say we're looking forward to
So
more.
I came in and saved the show.
Yeah. So we're looking to some great episodes coming on up. And if you have feedback, please share your feedback that we can use that to further add value to what we do, because we're in serving others and serving teams. And because when you are winning, we're winning. So please look forward to an exciting 2023.
Yes.
And don't hesitate to reach out to us so that we can allow or use our products and services to add value to your organization. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening and a wonderful 2023.
2023. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Blessings on you.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at www.pottingerandassociatesconsulting.com.